science. I can hear, oh, I can hear. Think I'll go where it suits me. Moving now to a country with everyone, oh, everyone, before we all become one.
Hey guys, thanks for coming to my Transistor review. Now, I really wanted to play this game back when it came out. Unfortunately, I didn't get the time to, and now that we're early on in 2015, this is going to be the one time I can review it and still have it somewhat relevant. So anyway, let's go ahead and review Transistor. I really like this game. Let's go ahead and dig right into every aspect of it because I love doing that with these reviews. Now, right off the bat, the production value, regardless of being a AAA or indie developer, is fucking great. I really love the production of this game. Now, let's go ahead and start with the visuals. The visuals look fucking fantastic and very neo art style while still being sci-fi-ish, and I really fucking dig that. Like, you can really see that developers put their heart and soul and passion into making these environments and character models. Everything looked great, and I have no qualms with the visuals, and it all looks fantastic. Now, with that being said, how's the sound design fare up? The sound design's also really good, and I really like it too. A matter of fact, I want to buy the soundtrack to this game. I like the sound design that fucking much, because honestly, the sound went with every environment, and it's so beautiful and so artistic, and this game just has a great artistic feel to it, and I really fucking dig that. Like, the art really shows with this, and the sound just supports that in my opinion. And if you don't believe me about the sound score, here's an example clip for you.
Hey, up there. Hello, world. Look at all that. We're on the edge of town, 100 blocks away. There's the empty set. Still too close to it. We better get as far from there as possible.
Now, regardless of how you feel about the sound design, I'm gonna let that sound clip speak for itself because it deserves to. Now, my one qualm with the production value was the voice detail, and voice acting and everything is great, but there wasn't enough of it in my opinion. I would have liked for there to be a bit more voice in the game. What's there is really great, and I like it. There's just not a lot of it. And with that being said, it's not a big complaint nor a game breaker, and it's just there for me to point out. And it's something I noticed. Now, everyone's probably wondering about the fidelity of this game, and honestly, the fidelity of it's really good. I've played both versions of this game, being the PS4 version and the PC version, and I can say both ran fucking fantastic, and I saw little to no difference between the two versions, and both are worth your money regardless of your platform of choice. Keep in mind, all footage for this review came from my PS4 because I don't have a PC recording setup yet. I'm going to get one, and then it's going to be 50-50 for me. But right now, it's PS4 footage for this game. So anyway, to round out production, the production for me is damn near perfect. I have a couple of gripes with it, but that's kind of being nitpicky in my opinion, and it's just overall really fucking good. And I can't really complain about it, it's just that good for me. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the story of the game, because I've always made it a point to talk about the narrative if the game has one when I review, and I can hopefully say that I also really enjoy this narrative, and it's also damn near perfect just like the production value. And I'm not really going to tell you a lot about the story because I feel every player that wants to play an artistic game should experience the story for themselves and get their own wholesome value out of it. But I will give you a bare bones explanation, and here it is. The story has you playing as Red, who's a very young but successful music artist in Cloudbank City, but all the prevalent independent voices in Cloudbank have been slowly disappearing, and one day this group known as the Camerata attacks you, and you lose your voice, and you team up with the Transistor to find out what's happening and why the process want to take over the city. And I'm not going to give you any more than that because you deserve to play through this story and experience it yourself. It's just that good to me, and the ending's perfect. Like, I have no qualms with the ending at all. Now, let's go ahead and get into the couple problems with the story. First off, this game doesn't tell its story traditionally. It's a very abstract way of telling you its story, and that can be confusing for some people. It wasn't a problem for me, but I understand it's a problem for other people. So, in order to get the full saturation of the story, you have to pay attention and interact with the world. Now, with that being said, the story's also not that long. My playthrough was only 5 hours and 40 minutes. But with that being said, it was a damn terrific 5 hours and 40 minutes, but you can complete the game if you ignore all the atmospheric parts of it. So that being said, if you ignore that, you can probably beat the game in around 4 hours. If you ignore that. If you pay attention to it, it's around a 5-hour game for me. Now, I took a little bit longer because I play through games a bit slower than most people, but that being said, I felt I got my money's worth for the $20 I spent, and honestly, for $20, it was way more wholesome of a value than Ground Zeroes was. So rounding out the story in my head, it's really good, it's not completely perfect, but it's pretty up there, and there's a couple problems with it in my opinion. Well, now that we've talked about the story and the production value, that's all great, and it's near perfect in my opinion, but what really matters when you play a game is the gameplay at its heart. And honestly, the gameplay, I can say without a doubt, is very well thought out and very fucking good. Because honestly, this gameplay does nothing but breathe fresh air to me in the gaming industry. Mainly because its combat system is so unique and customizable where it feels completely different from everything else, without really introducing anything groundbreaking or engineering in my opinion. Because you're given total combat freedom in this game. You have your 4 attacks that are completely customizable and you can have any attack there no matter how you choose it. And you have your passive abilities that help you, and then you have your attack's passive abilities. And these are all completely interchangeable and customizable, meaning every combat scenario can be completely fucking different or completely fucking same should you wish it that way. And I'm glad that they give you the freedom there. Also, a lot of people may say this game's not that hard, and fair enough, the game's not that hard. But the game, more or less, if you act stupid, it gets harder and harder and harder the more stupid you act. Because when your health goes down to 0, you don't die, you lose an attack. And if you go through all your attacks, it's game over. But honestly, if you go through all of your attacks, you're kind of playing the game stupid because it's meant for you to think out your situations a bit. Also, say you want to take out a whole bunch of enemies at once or have more of a strategic feel to it, you can do that with the game's planning mode. Planning mode allows you to go into the still area and allows you to take out all of your targets systematically in accordance to your stamina bar. Now, after that's over, you have to recharge and it leaves you open for a little while, but you were given full tactical freedom and free hits on people, and you have to plan out your attacks. Now, with all of this being said, the combat's very fluid and thought out, and it's damn near perfect. Now, there's a couple problems with it because it feels a bit clunky at first till you get into the rhythm of it. But once you get into the rhythm of it, it's all good. Now, aside from that, there's a few boss fights in this game, and granted, while there aren't a lot of boss fights, the boss fights that are there are really good and very well thought out, and no boss fight feels the same, and each of them are challenging in their own way. And then, after you beat the game, you get Recursion Mode, which is New Game Plus, and that allows you to play through the game on a harder difficulty. And if you don't want the harder difficulty before then, you're completely in control of the difficulty with limiters. Limiters basically limit your gameplay and basically make it harder. So if you want more of a challenge, you can make it more of a challenge systematically in the game. So the difficulty is complete freedom to you. And honestly, I really like that. I think it's cool to give players that much freedom in a game like this. And now the last thing I feel that I have to talk about with the gameplay is your Sanctuary. And the Sanctuary is basically your hub where you can go and train and unlock different music discs and interact with your pet dog Luna. And I really like the area, but I wish that there was a bit more onto it. But it is really cool and provides very cool cinematic views whenever you want to mull over an idea while you're completing missions or just try out new strategies. This is the area where you do it. And also, while you're playing these challenges, you unlock the soundtrack and you can play them on your music box, and it actually gives you incentive to do these challenges and train your ass off to get them because the soundtrack's really good and worth collecting. So the gameplay does nothing but round itself there, and besides from being a little clunky or a little different or a little hard to get a grip on, it's really good and there aren't really that many problems with it. So round out Transistor as a whole, I like it almost perfectly. Granted, I have a couple gripes with it, nothing's that major. But honestly, the production of it's so fucking good. Along with the story, the frame rate, it's all just there and done in such a good way to where I had such a fantastic time with this game to where I can recommend it to almost any gamer. And I wish that almost every gamer will at least try this game to try to broaden their horizon into the gaming landscape. And like I said, this game's not perfect. It had a couple of problems, but a lot of them are nitpicky and aren't really worth bringing up, and the few that I did were kind of being nitpicky. But I think you needed to hear about them. So round everything out, Transistor gets a 9.5 out of 10, and it's my 2014 Game of the Year. Because for the money it'll cost you on either platform, this is a very wholesome game that you owe it to yourself to play through or at least try. And that's been my opinion of the game. Agree with it, disagree with it, bitch me on the comments, do whatever you will. But I'll see you in my next review. Bitches.